Hereby reconvene the Board of Education regular meeting in open session at 5:31 p.m. We have a quorum present with all board members in attendance. Please note that this meeting is being both recorded and live streamed for public viewing. I would like to welcome the community members in attendance this evening. As a reminder, governing board meetings are a business meeting of the board held in public, and although public participation is encouraged, it is not the public's meeting. It is the duty of the board president and/or clerk of the board to maintain an orderly, respectful, and peaceful meeting where all perspectives, voices, and opinions are welcome. Please refrain from speaking while another person has the floor. Item D1, closed session reporting. Upon the motion of Trustee Young, seconded by Trustee Schmidt, a vote of 4-0, the board took action to suspend certificated employee number 144701 without pay pursuant to Education Code Section 44939, and to authorize the administration to issue a 30-day notice of dismissal in accordance with Education Code Section 44934, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notices. Item D2, Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item E1, public comment. First up, we have Mr. Jack Guerrero, followed by Mr. Bob Cow.
Good afternoon, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today to speak about the bond measure that was approved at the last board meeting. I have a few concerns about that I wanted to share with the board. First of all, I would have preferred a second reading to give members of the public an opportunity to digest the measure, an opportunity to absorb your decision and deliberate with you. That's the custom in cities when they pass ordinances or measures of great consequence. And it's a best practice for any public agency to have a second reading. So I'm disappointed that you did not do that. With respect to the ballot language, I think we missed an opportunity to be truthful and fully transparent with the voter. Conspicuously absent from the ballot language was any mention at all of interest and total debt service, which is going to approximate almost $750 million in total tax burden to the voters and the residents of this community. Also conspicuously absent is the 30-year duration of the bond. That means that taxpayers will be paying for 30 years, and nowhere on the ballot statement, the 75 words, is there any reference at all to the 30-year duration? So I think that was a real missed opportunity. So I'm disappointed. I wanted to share that sentiment with you. Ostensibly, the reason you put a bond forward to the public is because you don't have the funds available to invest in facilities. And I think that it's very unseemly that on today's agenda you have a contract renewal for the superintendent that is exorbitant, in my opinion. The superintendent is requesting, or the contract is identifying almost $400,000 in compensation. That's almost as much as the President of the United States. That includes cost of living adjustments on top of a 2% increment, on top of a tax shelter bonus, and other fringe benefits that I think collectively are exorbitant and inappropriate at this particular juncture, especially when you're going to the community and asking for more money. I also wonder how many other employees in this district, like teachers and teacher aides, are making $400,000. I mean, I would ask for a show of hands, but I'm going to reckon that very few people in the district make that much. And certainly very few residents of this community are making that much money. So again, I think it's unseemly. I would caution you in your deliberation, and I would urge a no vote on the contract renewal. Thank you.
Mr. Bob Cowell. Excuse me, Mr. Bob Cowell, followed by Sarah Werner.
Hello, board. It's I did with what Jack just said. There is no teacher in this area in our school district, or probably in California, at least in public schools, that makes this kind of money. As far as I know, maybe colleges. I have no idea. But I looked up how much a average worker makes in Murrieta. We make more than the average for the county. The average worker, including benefits and pensions, makes between $90,000 and $93,000 a year on the average. And that's with full-time, it's over 2,000 hours a year. Teachers make approximately, and this is just, on an approximate basis on the average, including all the benefits and pensions and everything, $125,000 to $135,000 a year. Even though, by the way, the people that are getting that lower salary, the average person makes a lot less than the teachers do. So I just want to let you know that. But if you add in the fact that they don't make that much they don't work as long a period, if you add in the 1.61 times that, they make about approximately $152,000 in just their base pay. If you add in the rest of it, it would be, 180 or somewhere in there for a teacher on a full-time basis. So going to what the administrators make on the average, now some work full-time and I bet some don't because principals probably don't work full-time. I'm guessing that they're not full-time, meaning they don't work a full year. They work the 1,200 plus hours per year instead of the 2,000 for a regular average full-time worker. The average is 180 to 220,000 a year. That includes all the benefits. Now these numbers are 2 years old. That's the latest I could get. What I saw on the agenda for F7 was that Mr. Andrus will be making close to a couple of years, close to what the President of the United States is making, and should not make anywhere close to that. In 2010, we passed, and I was the proponent of it, passed Measure E, which limited supposed to limit the salary of the administration to 2.5 times the median family income of the city of Murrieta. It passed by a 66.7% of the people passed that. So if we were to put something like this on the ballot again, we'd have to put language in there that this cannot be overruled. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Sarah Werner, followed by Jeremy Murphy. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Sarah Werner will be followed by Nicole Bro, so that way she yielded your time to you.
Oh, you want her to go before? Yeah, because she's got.
Oh, okay. Sure, let's do that then.
Can I yield my time?
Yeah, were you still going to come and speak?
No,
Not-
she's yielding it to me. If that's allowed.
Yeah, I was trying to put the two of you together so you'd have the time. So you have the floor.
So we meet again. And nothing has changed. The district has continued to fail the SPED department. In the last 2 years, you've continually cut the budget by 10%. You have over $52 million in reserve. You're asking for a grant. You, Dr. Ward, do nothing to manage your staff. There's zero implementation. You have zero metric system. Your JBL math guy said that the gap is exponentially large. Out of 300 slides you provided to the public, 5. Why? Because you were omitting the actual evidence that was material to the rest of the public consumer? The board has sat on this. I've had multiple conversations with Eleanor. Oh, it's a legal problem. You have spent 32 hours this year in 6 IEPs having my attorney, the district's attorney, the advocate, 25 staff members for an IEP from last year, and today on the 16th, my kid still did not have curriculum accommodated for him all year. A whole year of no curriculum. This is the third year. You've done 2 mediations and paid out a shit ton of money. Don't tell us it's the sped because you're wasting time. You sat in 6 meetings with me and your district's attorney, Peter Sampson, who is incompetent as all get out, the same as Jonna Preston, Steve Gooch, Faith. None of you guys stand through and take notes in the meetings in IEPs. Now you want to offset it to counselors because you don't want administrators. They don't have time to sit in IEPs. That's not even legal. You sat in our IEPs for 6 times after Jonna Preston approved a device that was $400 to blow up for my legally blind child, who, by the way, your district has told me for 2 years, legally blind with a brain tumor in his eye, that he's a visual learner. Does that make sense to you? It's not a comedy. This is actually what's happening in your schools, and it's not just me. I have logs and data from every campus. Your incompetent staff, your wasteful spending, your incompetent superintendent that on no time should ever be paid $400,000 a year when you are taking services. You have the money other places because you have no problem putting new lights and turf on your football field at Vista. You have it where you want it. You just don't want to spend it where it matters. My kid deserves to read before he has a prison cell. What is your job here? You are responsible for overseeing these people. You have administrators with 3 counts of child abuse on the record. Parents can't even volunteer with that. You have nurses taking away medical care from diabetes children when they already secured an Office of Civil Rights complaint. How many lawsuits do you want? Because I can name 30 right now that are going through attorneys that I know, and I'm not playing anymore. I told you 2 years ago I was coming for you, and I meant it. I'm going to take you into federal court, and the taxpayers will know how much you're paying in mediation. Because you're trying to skirt it off to your insurance while you're paying thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. You filed due process for me wanting my kid to have curriculum this year, so you're willing to spend, what, $250,000 to $500,000 on top of every IEP that Peter Sampson, 72 hours in 2 years he sat in IEPs. You're paying him for 72 billable hours instead of getting my kid curriculum and giving him a provider. What you have spent on him, he could have had all of his VI services till he was 40. And it's not provided from medical. VI and deaf students are particularly provided from the district. That is your responsibility, both in the community and there. They are not federally funded disabilities. They consume only 0.4% of your population. And you better start answering emails, because I'm going to subpoena you, and I'm going to depose you. You are worthless. You have 0 expertise or overseeing of any of your administrative staff. I've read your dissertation. It looks like an 8-year-old wrote it. Who ties your shoes? Is there an adult in the room? You can't tell me you don't know. You have attorneys. I've spoken to Mr. Rideout multiple times. Nothing happens. They file complaints. You have administrators, you move them from problem to problem to problem. They become a problem here as a vice principal, and then they get arrested. And then no, they don't get removed. You gave them a promotion and a $60,000 raise to principal. You didn't incentivize people who are doing their jobs. You fire the ones who actually fight you because they know you're not doing their job. You willfully cover up child abuse by Roy Mung and Ryan Takua because they start investigating before you even take the reports from the parents. So what are they corroborating? They're doing it to do background. You're making it uncomfortable for your staff. They're wanting to quit, or they are quitting. And now that you're doing K to second and mild mod with 1 aide, which is not possible, you're going to lose the good ones that you have. While you have 8 aides in a severe class where not 1 kid has a 1-to-1 aide on their IEP. It's because the teacher is uncredentialed and doesn't know what the hell she's doing. You guys need to wake up. This is our tax dollars. You don't deserve a raise. Every administrator is on my vision board to be fired in SPED. So help me God, every family I have on my back until I am done, my kid deserves to fucking read.
Thank you. I have Mr. Jeremy Murphy, followed by Emily Brooks.
Appreciate the time. I'm a dad of 3 daughters in the district, and one of those daughters actually had the opportunity to participate in elementary band at Murrieta Elementary. And so I saw the benefits of that program and how that helped her grow and how it helped her shape who she is today. And so I'm excited that future students will be able to have that opportunity as well, without even concerns for transportation or schedule conflicts or anything like that. So thanks to Dr. Andrus and district staff for listening to the community's concerns and pausing proposed changes to the elementary music scheduling, so there could be more community collaboration. I think that's the right decision. I do think there's an important lesson here on transparency, though. Like, I understand this isn't a board decision, and I don't think anybody expects trustees to litigate staff decisions on social media or anything. But I do believe our elected representatives have a responsibility to communicate with the families they represent, right? Like, recently, there's been a sense that many issues that concern parents fall outside of a trustee's purview. And while I understand the distinction between governance and management, I mean, obviously there's a difference between running a district and representing a community. When parents raise concerns and there's no visible dialogue in return, it weakens the trust we have in our elected leaders, right? Because we, the people of Murrieta, are simply observers in this system. You know, we're the parents who volunteer. We're the families who fundraise. We're the taxpayers who invest in our schools. You know, we're the community who entrusts you to be our voices, to represent our voices. And that requires elected leaders who are in tune with the community, pun intended. You can't wait until frustration reaches a breaking point before engaging with the families that you represent. Transparency shouldn't begin after public outcry. It should begin when the conversation starts. And we've seen it before. We've seen a lack of transparency before. Like $100,000 in our tax dollars has been wasted on like a failed property purchase, on an unneeded math consultant, on outside lawyers with political connections. And those expenditures wouldn't even be public if parents didn't ask for that information. And we've also been blocked in our opportunity to vote on our own schools twice. Like, this district can't continue operating in a cycle where conversations happen behind closed doors, and then the community learns about it after the fact, and then transparency begins only when there's public pressure. The people of Murrieta deserve leaders who value transparency, welcome partnership, and do the hard work every day to earn the trust of the community you serve. Thanks.
Emily Brooks, followed by Mrs. Robin Nielsen.
Good evening. I want to speak tonight on the concerns raised recently regarding lagging math scores and potential changes to curriculum and instruction. My kids were lucky to start kindergarten at the district years ago, the same year that the district officially adopted the Common Core curriculum and math standards. They attended a school, E. Hill Curran, that adopted a STEM program the same year and brought in the fantastic Pam Roden to guide the school. Under her guidance, my kids learned math in a really real, effective way. My son's now just about to be a senior, took the SAT 2 weekends ago and did fantastic on it, except for one issue that I'll bring back later. But he plays with numbers. He learns to manipulate them. The way Common Core math teaches fundamentals and concepts, in addition to just basic algorithms, I think is really effective. And I would urge the district not to lose that, not to go back on that. If some parents struggle to understand those new concepts, I think that speaks to the ineffectiveness of those old methods. And I would encourage the district to do more of what Pam Roden did, which was to bring those Common Core methods to the parents and help us learn along with our kids, because it is very effective. And it allows kids to do these higher levels of math more successfully. My concerns, though, I'm not really sure where things went wrong going from middle school to high school. My son was able to do that accelerated math program at Thompson. He took advanced math 1 as an 8th grader, which again leads to his success these last few years. His sister didn't have the same opportunity. She took honors math 1 as a freshman at Murrieta Valley this past year and had an awful experience. Apparently there were about 35 kids in the class. Many of them were very disruptive. Apparently she's on a first name basis with the security guards because they had to come to the class so often. Apparently chairs were sometimes thrown. Kids would talk over the teacher routinely. So if we're wondering why scores have dropped, someone's dropped the ball somewhere. Murrieta Valley, which is I think of the 3 high schools with the lowest math scores, that's what's happening in the honors classroom. So what happens in the other rooms, right? So I don't have all the background. My daughter doesn't like to tell me everything and complain because then she, draws attention to herself. But going back to the SAT, my son took it 2 weekends ago. He did fantastic. He promised me he didn't miss a single question on the first math section. 20 questions, he is convinced he got every single one of them right. The second math section he took, halfway through it, the child next to him started to have a panic attack, was disruptive, was shaking, was crying, was fussing, and was asked if he wanted to leave, but wasn't required to leave. And my son had to guess on the last 10 questions of that section, despite his skills. And so if that's what he dealt with on one day, imagine being the child in that freshman math class who dealt with those kinds of disruptions all year long, and that's what the problem with the scores is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Robin Nielsen, followed by Bruce Davidson.
Well, I'm going to change up what I was going to comment on because of my heartbreaking for that mother that spoke. And I want to let you guys know that nothing has changed since my child was at Vista Murrieta while Darren Daniel was the principal. I was able to prove that Darren Daniel lied under penalty of perjury. I even wore a sandwich board that said Darren Daniel lied under penalty of perjury. And what happened? He got promoted to the position of now where he's going to be able to spend $359 million of our tax money. That is beyond disturbing. He wanted to buy a $3 million piece of property for $9 million. He's going to spend it like a drunken sailor. And nothing has changed. My opinion is, and he knows this because he tried to use it against me, is that he's a sociopath. He cares nothing for the children of this district. Oh, excuse me, the kiddos. He sure didn't care about my kiddos.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bruce Davidson, followed by Chris Tomasian.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Davidson. I've been teaching band and strings in Murrieta Valley for 31 years. I grew up near LAX, and in 1995, when I was finishing my master's degree and teaching credential, one of my professors gave me a listing of available band jobs in Southern California. Chavilla Middle School was on there, as well as several other schools in the LA area to which I all applied. Only Gary Farmer was willing to give a new college graduate a shot, and all the other schools wanted someone with more experience, so I came to Murrieta. Figured I'd work here for a couple of years to get that precious experience, and then I could move back to the LA area. Those couple of years went by, and I began to see Murrieta Valley Unified as more than just a stepping stone. I thought, where do I spend most of my waking hours, and isn't it nice to do it in a place where band is appreciated by the community and thriving? Many other places were fighting cutbacks, so I stayed. I got married, started a family, and our 2 kids attended Avaha. When they reached 5th grade, they were very excited to finally have an opportunity to join band. I only taught 5th grade for 1 year, but I can tell you that I heard that same sentiment from a number of parents. All through elementary school, kids really look forward to the chance to learn an instrument. It's wonderful that MVUSD gives every student this chance. However, it was looking like next year I was going to have to tell families that if their student couldn't stay after school, they were not going to be able to do it. Even more heartbreaking, at one school, families whose students eat breakfast on campus would be forced to choose between that and band. Additionally, our violin program that feeds Chavillas was going to be gone. This was being done in the name of academic progress, but there are numerous studies that show the side benefits of music education, plus others that show kids who get pulled out of class for a program like ours do not suffer academically compared to their peers. We received word yesterday that these changes will not be going through after all, which is wonderful to hear. Band and orchestra really can change students' lives, becoming the biggest reason a student wants to come to school at all. There are families that transfer their students to MVUSD precisely for this reason. Thank you for the change of heart, and I'd like to urge that band continue to be available to every MVUSA student in 5th grade. Thank you.
Mr. Davidson, I have a point of information. I would like to ask a quick question. At what point were you notified, since you're an employee, about the music program situation?
We received our first meeting, I believe was on May 20th.
May 20th?
That was when we were told that one of our positions was going to be changed.
Okay, thank you so much.
That was a Wednesday, I think.
Okay.
I'm just making sure I have the date right.
If you wouldn't mind, email me some of the details of that. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm sorry, Chris Tomasian, followed by Emily Shaw.
Good evening. First, thank you, Dr. Andrus, for reconsidering the proposed changes to the elementary music program. I appreciate that. The educational benefits of music and arts programs are well documented, and you have received emails, I hear, about their value. However, there is another important benefit that may not be fully appreciated. These programs are a significant financial asset to our district. When I served on the board, we conducted a survey to understand why approximately 2,000 students transferred each year into our district. About 1,500 of those students identified our music and arts programs as one of the reasons for choosing our schools. These students bring millions of dollars in state funding to our district every year. Our district has built a reputation for having the strongest music and arts programs in the region. If we weaken that position while neighboring districts use their Proposition 28 funding to expand and strengthen their own programs, we risk losing both current and prospective students. The result could be declining enrollment and the serious financial challenges that accompany it. I also understand that the proposal involved using Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, or ELOP funding, to support the after-school band program. I am concerned about shifting funding for the school day music program from the general fund while relying on ELOP funds for before or after school instruction. Assembly Bill 130 clearly states that ELOP funds may not be used to supplant existing programs or services. Failure to comply with this requirement could expose the district to serious consequences, including funding reductions, repayment obligations, and potential legal liability in cases of intentional misuse of funds. I urge the board to fully exercise its fiscal oversight responsibilities by carefully evaluating both the financial impact and legal implications of any proposed changes to our music programs. Protecting these programs is not only an investment in our students, but also a sound financial decision that helps preserve enrollment, revenue, and the district's long-term stability. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Emily Shaw, followed by Mrs. Tellez, Maha Tellez.
Good evening, Superintendent and members of the Governing Board. My name is Dr. Emily Shaw, and I'm the parent of Duggan Shaw, an incoming senior at Murrieta at Vista Murrieta. I've also been a public educator for 31 years, and 11 of those as a high school principal. I do not bring these concerns forward lightly, and I understand the importance of working collaboratively with schools, respecting process, and giving staff the opportunity to respond. However, the seriousness of what has occurred and continues to occur requires district-level attention and accountability. So I'm here tonight to formally raise the concerns regarding implementation of our son's Section 504 plan and to request that accountability. Duggan is a high-achieving student who's maintained the #1 ranking in his class of approximately 800 students. He's been described by his teachers as that once-in-a-career type kid. He carries a rigorous academic AP and dual enrollment course load and has consistently demonstrated strong performance, but he also has hereditary spherocytosis and anxiety, both of which impact stamina, concentration, cognitive endurance, and access to education, especially following illnesses. This year, Duggan experienced a medically necessary hospitalization related to his disability. He missed approximately 8 days of instruction, requiring multiple blood transfusions. Staff were notified of this disability, hospitalization, medical absences, missed instruction, and need for flexibility and support. Despite this repeated notice, there was no formal reintegration plan, no targeted reteaching, no meaningful monitoring, and no consistent proactive implementation of his accommodations. My concern is not about lowering standards. Duggan has never needed standards lowered. My concern is about allowing him equal access. The district's response focused on whether accommodations were explicitly denied, but that is not the issue. A 504 plan cannot properly be implemented simply because a teacher doesn't say no. The issue is whether the accommodations were affirmatively provided, monitored, and implemented without requiring the student or parent to repeatedly ask for them. Awareness of a 504 plan is not the same as implementation. Given the repeated notice provided to staff regarding medical disability, hospitalization, absences, missed instruction, and need for disability-related supports, these facts raise serious concern that the district's response was not merely an oversight, misunderstanding, or isolated communication issue. Rather, this is a failure to affirmatively implement, monitor, and ensure meaningful access to a Section 504 accommodations, and it constitutes deliberate indifference on the part of the teacher related to his equitable access and rights under Section 504. I'm deeply concerned by any framing that places the burden on Duggan to self-advocate for accommodations written into his plan. Self-advocacy is important, but it does not replace the district's legal responsibility to implement his accommodations. I also want to be very clear that there should be no retaliation, adverse treatment, differential treatment, or negative consequence directed toward Duggan because we have raised these concerns. He should not be singled out, penalized, discouraged from using accommodations, or treated differently by staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Maha Telez. Oh, that. Whoa. Am I out of order here? Mrs. Maha Telez. Here? No. Mrs. Linda Bogard. Sorry, followed by Mrs. Julia Akuri.
Hello, board members and audience. My name is Linda Bogard. I'm a 7th grade science teacher at Chevela Middle School. Districts across California have been pushed into finding time within the school day to offer a type of study hall, giving teachers and students time to connect, provide tutoring, homework help, and complete absent work. However, middle schools in this district are struggling to make this time equitable, manageable, and beneficial for all students. This has come at the expense of classroom minutes. Last year at Chevela, the average class period was only 48 minutes long, taking away time from the teacher to allow for comprehension checks and differentiation. A block schedule is not better. While the high school might be having success, during middle school office hours, students are avoiding classes they need the most. Teachers are attempting to call students for intervention, and they hide within campus bathrooms and behind buildings or within non-assigned or rostered teachers' classrooms. When students do attend, they still struggle to complete work independently and instead use this time as social hour. I have spent many office hour sessions sitting next to a single student, talking them through individual science problems they are actually capable of. This is no way to support small group intervention. Students are expecting all assignments to be accepted beyond a reasonable late date or assessments to automatically be retaken after an initial assessment. They are losing accountability. Students who do not need intervention are playing computer games for an hour of the school day or creating social media posts randomly on campus, all this under the guise of academic minutes. While the district will proclaim that office hours are not an extra prep for teachers, the model needed to truly intervene on student misconceptions requires more than just the teacher. It requires an urgency from the student and support from parents as well. Education is a three-legged stool. You need all of the supports or it tumbles. Teachers are being asked to do more and more each year without additional ownership on the other supports. My point here today is to simply bring this issue to your attention and ask if we truly care about closing this achievement gap. Respecting teachers and parents, we need a better system to fit a middle school model. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Board, Dr. Andrus. My name is Julia Arcuri, and I will be starting my 24th year at Murrieta School District in August. I feel it's important for me to attend and speak at meetings because my job and students are directly affected by the decisions made by the board. I decided that sitting back and complaining about situations that I don't understand or agree with is a waste of time and energy. And so this is why I have chosen to get involved and learned everything I can about our school board and how it runs. And I'm seeing other faces also showing up, and I think it's amazing. While speaking at a very well-attended meeting last month, I became rattled and flustered when a community member interrupted me, and I was unable to accurately express myself. It's not easy to stand up here knowing several community members don't have any respect for what I have to say or my views. I decided to speak about politics that cause conflict within California unions and members. And while I understand it's legal for unions to be involved in California politics, I believe it's a conflict of interest. and hundreds of union members' voices are not heard because of this. And these are the topics I was trying to convey last month before being interrupted, and I completely lost my train of thought. So I got my notes this time. I would like to apologize for any confusion I may have caused. And going forward, I will be writing down everything and keeping to my script so that that doesn't happen in the future. I know firsthand how hard it is to stand up here voicing opinions that seem to be in the minority, but here I am again. And I applaud anyone who is courageous enough to get in front of this podium because it's a bit scary. And I believe if we truly listen to others and what they have to say, even if our views aren't the same, we could actually learn something from each other. There is common ground we all share, and that is making sure that our students are safe, they are working in a healthy environment filled with unity and compassion. With everything going on in the world, our students will benefit watching adults speak with respect and decorum. And it is our job to teach children how to handle disagreements and viewpoints. We are their role models, and that is a job I take very seriously. I will continue to stay involved in our board meetings and speak out concerning issues that I will continue to stay involved in our board meetings and speak out when I have issues that are concerning regarding our schools. I look forward to learning more about our district and board policies, and I encourage others to get involved. Our children are worth it.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to item E2, employee organization reports. I call on Freddie Musco as president of California School Employees Association. He's not here. Lisa Murray, president of Murrieta Educators Association.
Hello, everybody. Happy summer. Maybe we can get there sometime soon. Let me begin by saying I truly appreciate the decision to pause the proposed changes to our elementary band program. I was a 5th grade teacher here in Murrieta for a couple of years, so I fully understand the challenge of managing instructional time when full band is pulled from class for 45 minutes each week. That is a real concern and one that deserves thoughtful consideration. At the same time, I believe it is critical that any solution we pursue supports not only classroom instruction, but also the long-term strength of our music programs and the experiences of our students and their families. I spent a great deal of time reflecting on how to approach my comments this evening. My intention is not to assign blame, but to reinforce the importance of the partnership between this board, district administration, and our association. That relationship is something we've worked hard to build, and I remain committed to maintaining it. At the same time, part of that commitment means speaking openly and honestly when issues arise that impact our educators and our students. With that in mind, I believe it is important to provide some additional clarity for our community. Prior to the recent outpouring of community feedback, changes to the structure of the elementary band program were actively being developed and moved forward. These included a shift of full band to an after-school model, the elimination of the elementary strings program, and the involuntary reassignment of one of our elementary band teachers, who also happens to be a legacy employee who was positively impacted by our 5th grade band program when she herself was a child. In addition, the association and district had begun negotiating the impacts these changes would have on the working conditions of our elementary band teachers. While last night's messaging to our community described these efforts as preliminary internal discussions, in actuality, there was nothing preliminary or confidential about any of the discussions that were taking place between district administrators, the association, and the affected educators. As information circulated throughout the community, some details of the changes that were being made may have shifted or been exaggerated, as often happens when communication is not fully aligned. But the central concern remained consistent. The changes that were being planned for the structure of the elementary band program may well have limited student access and over time impacted the strength of our secondary music programs. And if the community hadn't spoken up about their concerns, the changes absolutely would have happened. I want to acknowledge that the response from our community reflects how deeply people value music education in this district. That level of engagement is something we should all see as a strength. It reflects a shared commitment to providing meaningful opportunities for our students, and we are so blessed to have such amazing music educators to provide the students of Murrieta with those opportunities. Again, I appreciate the decision to pause the changes to the elementary instrumental music program until we have had a chance to engage the community, staff, and educators in the discussions on how we can effectively preserve instructional time and continue to provide an outstanding fifth grade band program for our students. And I sincerely hope that moving forward, we can work in partnership to strengthen our communication and ensure that decisions of this magnitude reflect careful planning, collaboration, communication, transparency, and trust. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our superintendent report, Dr. Andrews.
Thank you to our community members who spoke out and brought these concerns to our attention. As Ms. Murray mentioned, as we've talked to some other people, and actually the board has given me some very, very positive, I think very engaging and appropriate goals for me to work on this next year. One of them specifically is protecting instructional time, which was part of the thought about how do we do that. And that doesn't diminish band as instructional time, but also the other classroom instructional time, and how to make the schedule work. So we were considering some changes. We had moved down the road on a couple of those proposals, but it became very clear we were not ready, and we hadn't done our part, and we hadn't communicated well, we hadn't involved people well. And so that was why we decided, like, we really need to stop and rethink this, and stop for a while. Like, this isn't something we're trying to resurrect right away or do something soon, but possibly carry the conversation on later in the future. To that end, that's why there was a communication distributed yesterday around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was sent to all employees. It was included in a superintendent spotlight. The communication went out via our Parent Square notification. And that was just saying that we are not eliminating elementary band. That was never the intention, to be very clear. It was never to eliminate elementary band, nor has the board. They never came to me and said, get rid of it. They never said anything like that. So that was something that staff was looking at, trying to find a solution to some challenges. And we did not really include enough people. And I accept responsibility for that. So for that reason, we made the determination we just need to pause all this and return to our regular program that we had just established, that we just came from. So in essence, there'll be no change in the program. So that's why it was important that we had that. We pause all of these discussions and actions and simply return to what we had had in the past, which is 3 teachers attending 11 elementary schools, providing instruction to our 5th grade students. That instruction will occur again this way. Band teachers will arrive on a certain day, depending on the schedule, and kids are pulled out of 5th grade for sections, and then at a different time, different day necessarily, depending on the schedule, students are pulled out of 5th grade for a whole band rehearsal together during the day. We are very astute and careful to manage how we can use and can't use funding, if it's general fund, Prop 28 money, or after school money. Many of those times we do braid or blend funding to bring programs together. We do that all the time. As a matter of fact, every elementary school parent who gets to drop their child off an hour before school starts, have them supervised, even if they're a half day in the afternoon kindergartner, can still drop off their child in the morning. They'll be supervised, taken care of, moved from the cafeteria over to the before after school program, to class, to the after school program seamlessly because of the way we blend funding to serve families. We don't need you to figure out those back end details. We've got a whole department of people that can figure out those back end details. But that's an example of how we try and do what's right for the community with the funding we have available. And so we're very cautious and thoughtful about that. But in this particular case, I think we're moving much faster than we should have. So we decided to pause. And that concludes my comment regarding band. We look forward to, and we always look forward to the band concerts and the team concerts. Those are all very wonderful celebrations. We know arts are very important to this district. I've actually said Murrieta Valley Unified School District is a humanities district. We are not a STEM district. We don't have big STEM robust programs. Though we have some, we are a humanities district. We have outstanding VAPA programs, which includes drama, performing arts, and athletics. Amazing. A wonderful place to come to school. A place where I'm glad my grandchildren get to come to school. We've even had a conversation with the new parents and said, by the time that little one is 4 years old, she'll be in a Murrieta school. So it's an amazing place. As the school year comes to a close, we celebrated graduations, promotions, and culminating events. It's been by many measures a very successful school year. We have done everything this year just highlights. We implemented a controlled campus visitor ID badge for improving campus safety at all of our schools. We completed the renovations and opened a 10-classroom early learning center for our little preschoolers. There's been distinguished school awards, a blue ribbon school, avid demonstration site, schools recognized Purple Star schools, PBIS awards, league and CIF championships. We've had CTE program winners and amazing scholarships for those people, marching band championships. And I talked to a parent today, even some Lucy Arnaz Award winners. And there have been many, many accolades. Another part is that we have our preliminary testing data from the state around the CAS test that indicates that we've demonstrated again, cumulative of the district, our students have grown again. So thank you for our amazing teachers and parents who partner with us on all of those efforts. Lastly, I just want to recognize the Board of Education for their efforts to lead the district. Along with staff, they have led us and supported the process of the facilities master plan, a project list to place a bond measure on the ballot this coming fall, and how important that is for our communities and our aging facilities. They've demonstrated purposeful commitment to the well-being of the school district, and that was demonstrated as recently as yesterday in a Teams call regarding special education, where we saw tremendous, very effective collaboration by these board members engaging with school staff to do what's right for kids. I've seen it time and time again, and it's been great to be part of that. This concludes my comments.
All right, thank you very much. Board member reports. I'd like to start with Ms. Young.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. So I attended the district's colloquium. It was in the middle of May, which is always a very positive and uplifting experience to be able to celebrate our new teachers that have made it through this process. I actually work as an induction coach for the county. So again, I like to see the similarities and differences. I work with people, they run the remote coaching for the entire state. So I work with people who are all over the state, sometimes in other states. And I know some people are in other countries. I haven't had one of them yet. So the basic, okay, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, there are some little differences, which I won't get into here. But basically, we're there to support new teachers during their first 2 years in the profession. We help them develop their teaching skills, their classroom management skills, and also just a person they can speak to safely and confidentially. Our first duty, at least through the county, is what they call just-in-time support. It can be stressful. I shouldn't say can be. It is stressful being a new teacher, and this is a way to offer support to reduce attrition. I went to the delegate assembly. Mrs. Briggs was there too. It was a really busy and productive weekend. We were up in Sacramento. Some of the things we worked on, we talked about reporting the reporting burdens that districts have. So the average administrator has to spend 20 hours a week on compliance activities. So we are supporting us through CSBA, both Assembly and Senate bills, which will make this situation less burdensome and simplify it. So our administrators have time to do the rest of their jobs. We're also concerned about the size and the pacing, closing the achievement gap. This is a huge state. We are the most populous state in the country. We have over 40 million people. So yes, things can be more complicated here than some states, which don't even have 500,000 people. But our system it's complex, it's fragmented, it can lack focus. So what we're trying to get a different type of help from the state, which will have focus, coherence, and alignment to help close the achievement gap. So again, we're trying to shift from focusing on compliance to them being more of a customer support role. to help us get where we want to be. And personally, I am optimistic that we will see shifts. I don't expect anything sudden to happen because this is such a huge state. We talked, another session I went to, we discussed, I'm shifting topics here, mental health issues among students. A student who is not well is not going to learn. One case study, we did a couple of case studies. One was the Linwood District. They expanded their mental health services. It dramatically reduced the need for suspensions. Fremont had a similar experience with also very positive outcomes. I went to the Student of the Year breakfast, and I want to congratulate our 4 Students of the Year, Sophia Antillon from Murrieta Valley, Christopher Lee from Vista Murrieta, Adrina Varela from MCA, and Stephanie Wu from Murrieta Mesa. Each of these students got a $5,000 scholarship, which is more money than we've been able to distribute. And I do think a lot of it's because we moved the event to the Early Learning Center, which lowered the cost because the food is generally being supplied through our culinary people. So that opened up more money for scholarships. It's also a great space to put on an event. I helped Rotary. I don't know if you saw all the flags by City Hall. I was there with Rotary putting up flags. There were several of us, so we got it up within a few hours. I also went to the retirement celebration. I always find it bittersweet to say goodbye to retirees because people are going to miss them. At the same time, they don't have to go to work anymore. I feel the same way about graduating senior every year. With what I taught, I would often have the same students 4 years straight. So, we know each other quite well. And I'm always very happy to see them go off to what they're going to do next. But yeah, I miss those people. I went to Tovashaw's talent show. I will say, first of all, I'm just very proud of all of these kids who are willing to put themselves out there, get up on the stage. And there were a lot of them involved. And secondly, I will add, we have a lot of very talented kids at Tovashaw. There were all kinds of different shows. There was dancing, singing, skits, martial arts demonstrations, and yeah, it was good. I went to 3 graduations. I was at MCA. It's the smallest one. It was a mixture of the adult school and MCA, which are the teenagers. One thing about the smaller ones, you get to hear more about people's personal stories and the obstacles they've overcome. I helped Rotary gives them gifts, that school in particular, but so I helped hand out those gifts after the ceremony. I was at Murrieta Mesa's graduation. I always think theirs are beautifully done. It went off without a hitch because it is complicated to mount a graduation. And I have always appreciated the big screen in the back so parents can actually get a good view of their kids walking by. It can be hard to spot them, especially when everybody's dressed exactly the same way. And I went to Chavela's. It wasn't really a graduation, it was a promotion. And the big difference there, the kids were having a great time. A lot of parents came. They prefer fist bumps over handshakes. So if you ever get involved, be aware. And yeah, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mrs. Schmidt.
Where's my readers? Sorry, I have to do readers now. I hate it. Okay, so I just wanted to say happy summer to everyone. I really can't believe that another school year is over. And the first thing I want to do is to give a shout out to Milo Alexander. I guess he is a former 6th grader at Warm Springs Middle School here, and he's going into 7th grade. And I met Milo at my church this past Sunday while I was serving on the hospitality team. And this kid was just so great. He just made my whole day. And I told him, if you watch this, I'm on the school board, and so if you watch this meeting, I'm going to talk about you, because he was just like a fantastic kid. I don't know if he is. I hope he is. He made me a great iced tea. And it's because I told him I was on the school board and I was just so impressed with his great personality. I was asking about where he went to school, but unfortunately for us, he will not be in our district anymore as his dad is in the military and his family is moving to Texas. So I don't know if any of you teachers at Warm Springs know him and his family, Milo Alexander, but I just want to tell Milo's dad, thank you for your service to our country, and we appreciate you so much. And to Milo's parents, you're raising a great kid. He was just such a great kid, and he's one of our students, so kudos to you. Since our last comments, I had the pleasure of attending graduation ceremonies at MCA and Mesa, and they were so well put together and so much fun to attend. It really is an honor to even be up on the stage with them. Congratulations to all our graduates. Yesterday, I attended a meeting with Jana, Faye, Joe, Dr. Andrus, Nick, and Daniel regarding special education and the survey that went out to teachers. And I'll continue to meet with them as we look for some solutions to help support the teachers. And I just want to say in regards to special ed, and not just special ed, but the people that do come up and comment and the people that commented today, I really do appreciate that because it is hard getting up there. I've had to do it. It's hard being up here too. You get nervous doing this too. But I appreciate your emails and your comments because these put things on our radar that we don't exactly know about. So I really do appreciate you coming and speaking. And I know it's hard and being engaged in letting us know so that we can follow up with these things. And I'm sorry, for the one speaker that it seems like it's been going on for a little while. So hopefully we can work on that. I wanted to also follow up with an update on our parental notification board policy 5010. Unfortunately, MVEA and NEA are pursuing their PERB, which is stands for Public Employment Relations Board, complaint against our district. I was actually shocked and disappointed to find out that it was still continuing in spite of the Supreme Court decision and many of these other rulings that have taken place across the country. But they are continuing in their attempt to sue the district for this policy that notifies parents if their child wants to make a change to their permanent record. That's all it does. This is costing the district thousands of dollars for our lawyers to litigate. And Dr. Andrus, I was going to ask you, how much money has this cost for our lawyers to reply and file?
The district has spent roughly $12,000 in preparation for the defense of this case.
And so,
Okay, we're going to keep on.
And so it's $12,000, and what fund is that coming out of?
That would come out of general fund.
And the general fund is money that could go to students, is that correct?
Correct. Any educational purpose.
So that's some unfortunate news. A community member requested the PERB documents, and I actually have them right here. By the way, they are public documents that anyone can request. If you want the case number, it's LA-CE-7095-E. Our lawyer has had to respond to these, and this is a continuing thing. So it's going to continue to cost the district money, even though all the precedent and the Supreme Court decision is going on said that parents have the right to be notified. So I just wanted to read some things from this PERB case. It says, BP 5010 is not a mandatory subject of bargaining under EERA because it does not primarily relate to wages, hours, or other terms and conditions of employment and has no more than a minimus effect on bargaining unit members. Even, it says a charging party, which would be MVEA and NEA, has failed and refused to bargain the impacts with the district and engaged in bad faith bargaining in violation of the EERA. The policy that we have, are already on record here, our board policy, is consistent with the Safety Act, parental rights under the U.S. Constitution, and other applicable law. The U.S. Supreme Court in Mirabelli versus Bonta, 2026, that is the one that established that parents can or do have the right to know what's going on with their children in school and to be notified of any changes to their permanent record. BP 5010 aligns with this binding federal precedent affirming parents' constitutional rights. Any conflicting state interpretation is preempted or unenforceable. The remedies sought by the charging party, all or in part, are improper and not permitted by law. I'm just going to read a few more. The relief sought by a charging party is prohibited by constitutional law. Parental rights as declared by the Supreme Court of the United States. And then this says CTA and NEA lack standing. And then it could be that the district be awarded attorney's fees and costs for defending this action. And we're asking that the district, our lawyers are asking that the district be entitled to such other relief as permitted by law or as deemed proper by the board. So I just wanted to bring that up in transparency to the community, because some people might think, oh, well, we have the board policy, so it's set. It's not. It's still being going through with litigation. So I just wanted to bring that up as well. And with that, on a happier note, I hope you all have a great summer and you get to celebrate our nation's historic 250th birthday celebrations on July 4th. This concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, Mrs. Briggs, you're up.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the community for the feedback that we received as a board. I put something out on social media only because I truly was grateful for the feedback. You know, someone asked me if we had, if it bothered me when people come up and they're so angry that they express that anger here, and we get essentially we get yelled at, right? And the truth is because I came through this kind of a platform where I had to find a space to bring my frustration and just, I didn't know where else to go. I didn't even know there was a school board. I don't mind it because I know that without feedback is the breakfast of champions. And I don't even know who the quote came from. But without our community's feedback on this specific band issue, our board would never have known about it, unfortunately. And so those are the things that I'm grateful for. And I just wanted to say thank you to the community members. Some of them sent very extensive emails on the importance of band, the education behind, I mean, it was just more than one, if I could read them. And also the impact that our district's bands program has had on their own children. So I wish I could read all of the letters out loud today, but there was too many. And I tried to respond to everybody. I just want y'all to know. I tried to respond to those emails, but there was just so much. So if you didn't get an email response directly from me, please count this as my thank you to you for sending it and for letting us know. Because as Trustee Smith had said, that if these things aren't brought to the forefront, we can't address it. We can't be able to say, how can we either course correct or how can we make a change that's going to benefit the entire population of our community? So I was very, very grateful for that. And because on the same week that we received all of this feedback, let me just tell you, since I want to say October, I am about the visual arts. I am about these productions. Everybody here you come to every meeting, I'm going to talk about something that I went to the school district for and watched a performance, met students who are in these programs. So I'm a complete advocate of our arts programs, and I don't see anywhere down the road where that is going to be something that is ever on the chopping block for our community. There's just no way. There would be too much community uproar as we've already experienced. But since October, we have been advocating for a specific thing at Dorothy McElhenney Middle School for our drumline program, and I'm grateful to see Mr. Stout here, who's the coach for our drumline, because he brought something to the forefront that needed attention, and we focused some attention on it. It did take longer than I would have liked, I have to tell you. It did take a little longer than I would like, but I promise you that we're going to get to a resolution, and as a result of that, the kids at Dorothy McElhenney Middle School, and then the feeder group that goes into Vista and Mesa and all of our other high schools, that whole program, which by the way is phenomenal, again, sing its praises, that whole program is going to be affected by what we're doing. You know, someone said behind closed doors, but these are the meetings that our community doesn't necessarily see our board members go into, is we are advocating on your behalf. We are fighting behind the scenes. It takes a little longer time. I keep telling people we're turning the Titanic, but it is turning, for goodness sake. And so, and one of those, you know, the parent that came up here, Miss Werner, I do recognize that, and I just want you to know, it is not off of the docket. it is not off the docket that we are focusing on some solutions for the SPED department. I'm going to put that out there, and that's all I'm going to say about it right now. This past couple months has been super busy. I attended the Vista graduation, Warm Springs Dorothy promotion, and the Murrieta Canyon Academy graduation, which shout out to Mrs. Scallion and her crew. I shook over 400 hands, and the thing went by like this. So they split us up, 800 total kids for the graduation. And it was completely seamless from my perspective. I don't know what everybody else was, but let me tell you, people were excited. And I want to tell my colleague, I haven't even told Mrs. Schmidt this, when I was at the Dorothy McElhaney Middle School and the Thompson promotion, they all were so excited about the Constitution. The kids who got the Constitution, I don't know if it was a recognition, they got a pin or something.
Yeah, they got a little Constitution scholar pin.
So they did a test on the U.S. Constitution in honor, I guess, of the 250th birthday, but the students who achieved those results and who knew the Constitution and got this award, specifically at Dorothy McElhaney, it was such a patriotic moment in my mind because they were so proud. Not the students, the kids were proud, but the response from the parents, over 2,000 people in that field at Dorothy probably, and they were so proud of the fact that their kids were participating in that type of activity. So kudos to Mrs. Schmidt because she really helped bring that across the finish line, so I'm very grateful. I attended the Santa Rosa Plateau Nature Education Foundation's event. I happened to be there for another event, but because I was there, I was able to see Carol Hernandez, who happens to sit on the Nature Education Foundation's board. And she is one of the teachers, one of the VAPA teachers for our district, who's been with our district for like some crazy 20-something years, teaching song and all that fun stuff. Well, we had a Vista student who she personally mentored from when he was little up to the point now he was there and he opened the event up singing the national anthem. And our Vista, Miss Thompson with Vista Murrieta High School was there with her group from Vista doing community service hours. When I tell you I'm about community collaboration, it is those types of events. So shout out to the Santa Rosa Plateaus team who put this together. And I know that Miss Young sits on that team and she also helped to prepare for the event that day. But the truth is those are the kind of community collaborations that I'm about, to see our kids out there in our community providing the national anthem and providing all of these things was just really I was so grateful. And shout out to Ms. Carol Hernandez. I love seeing her in the community. CSBA delegation, for those of you who don't know, I was voted in 2 months ago to the California School Board Association Delegation Assembly. And what that means is there's 18 boards in our region. Those 18 boards had to vote on the people that they were going to send as delegates to Sacramento. And I'm so grateful I had the opportunity not only to be nominated, but to be able to win that seat, because after being in Sacramento and hearing all of the things as a delegate that we have the opportunity to take part in and change legislation, let me tell you, Titanic. It's going to turn. I am fully convinced that if we'll just keep at doing the good things that we know to do, that something's going to happen. So I'll serve there for 2 terms in Sacramento, and we have another meeting coming up. I think it's like towards the end of December is one of the other big meetings for CSBA. But my goal there is not only to represent our region, but specifically Murrieta, to be a voice for our valley, because that's what they do. They want feedback, and I promise you I'm giving the feedback without hesitation. And so I'm just very grateful. That would conclude my report. Oh, I apologize. One more thing, President Perdue. We are in the process of, I love the feedback from the community. Not only negotiations with our superintendent, but the things that we're dealing with literally, I think, feels like almost on the daily. I want to remind the community of our position as the board. We serve as the governing board of the MVUSD district. And the only legal requirement, let me put this out there, the only legal requirement to serve as a board member is literally to be over 18 and you live in the district that you're running for. But the truth is, someone came up to me and told me before my election that I wasn't eligible to run because I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the education backing behind me. And I was really a little like, well, that's kind of strange, right? Well, we really think Eleanor needs to have committee stuff behind her, and she has to have all this experience behind her before she can really serve her community. The truth is we serve our community. We are all in people. Everybody you see on this board, are all in people. So when I tell you that we're going to make a change or we are moving in a direction, I honestly, with my whole heart, believe that. I believe we're making good, positive changes for our community. But I'm going to encourage the community to continue to feedback. If we don't get this feedback, we are literally, this kind of sounds silly, but we rely on our staff at this point to give us this information. But it's good to have the outside perspective. Do we trust our staff? For the most part, yes. But I'm sure there's stuff that falls through the cracks. But we represent our community. We are the community oversight to this district. We have one employee, that's our employee, Dr. Andres over there. And if things that are not happening specifically to teachers, specifically to students, if you're not getting something across the finish line, we are going to do our best to try to manage that. That's all we can do. We literally have come onto this board. I mean, you know, I'm sure the people in this room make 10x what I make serving on this board. 10x. Let me just tell you, put it out there. We don't do this for the money. We are doing this because we truly are invested in our community. And I want you guys to know that in the days ahead here, I want you to know that as a board, we're here as oversight. We can't solve 100% of the problems, but we will do our best to manage, mitigate, and do all of that fun stuff on the other end of this podium. So that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Briggs. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to try to go pretty quick. I did also attend lots of graduations, but I do want to give a shout out to, of course, all the people who set up graduations. And there's a lot of unsung heroes who do a lot of work at our schools. That's our custodial staff, DIS and RSP aides, nutrition services, instructional assistants, campus security, playground supervisors, librarians and health techs, et cetera. There's all kinds of different jobs out there that make sure that our campuses are safe, clean, and the kids are well taken care of. I know when I'm turning in my attendance sheets, I'm chatting with the attendance clerks, and you get to find out all the different things that are going on. My good buddy's a custodian, and just like if you watch Breakfast Club, I'm pretty sure the custodian knew everything. It's a little bit like that, I'm not gonna lie. So I really appreciate what they do, and some people don't realize this in public education. Teachers do have a nice big break. I'm a teacher. I started in private school, and so I kind of understand all that. I'm always see myself as a servant, as a teacher. I serve the community, and I serve the kids, and I have to be really aware of the kids that I serve, because we are blessed to be teachers. We do actually live a pretty good life. With that being said, I will also add that the custodial staff and CSEA members often are still on campus, as are administrative staff. They don't exactly get to just take off and go the way teachers do. You know, we check out, we go turn in our grade books, and then we go.
I thought they did, Nick. I thought the administrative staff got the summer off too.
Yeah, everyone just dipped. No, and they usually are here earlier, getting everything ready as soon as the school year ends. Being a teacher, I will tell you, your life kind of goes on fast forward, because it just, one year goes to the next, and you're preparing and trying to do better, ideally trying to do better with your classroom. So, and the end of the year is it's taxing. It's especially for the teachers that hold a high standard. And my hat's off to all the teachers that do that. I know we have a lot of teachers in Murrieta that hold that high standards, because people are unhappy when they don't pass, right? When they don't meet that standard. And I think it's important to support teachers that hold that high standard. And I want the parents to know also that it's important to partner with your teachers, because sometimes, and I'm just going to throw it out there, sometimes these kids come to our classroom and they've never been told no before. They've maybe never had a bad grade before. And it's important for us to learn, right, from those experiences. There's ups and downs that go with that. Also, we do listen to what Mrs. Briggs was saying is exactly right. We're paying attention. That's part of why we attended the special education Zoom meeting, was to try to understand all the feedback we're getting from the community. Without your feedback, we don't know. We do represent you. One of the things I'm going to address as well is, excuse me, ma'am, you can't interrupt our meeting. And if you continue to interrupt the meeting, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Okay, we've heard you loud and clear, and I'd like to give my report now. Okay. I think it's important for us to know Flag Day was June 14th, and we are also hitting our 250th anniversary birthday, as most of you guys might not know. Being a history buff, you might not know this, but we're the very first country to be founded on Enlightenment principles in which we, the people, get to govern ourselves. So when you come to the board meeting, we are from the community, and everyone, this is not my seat. None of us own this seat. This is a seat from the community. And so we have to represent everybody. Now, we don't represent the teachers union. We don't represent any of the staff or even the school district. We represent the people of Murrieta. And then we vote, and then we provide direction, and we only have one employee, as Ms. Briggs so obviously pointed out, was Dr. Andrus. His staff are the professionals. You can be 18 years old, you can be 20, you can be 99. You can sit in this seat and you can be involved in the process. And that's what makes America absolutely an amazing place, right? And I also would like to point out that other countries, the Europeans, thought this was absolutely ridiculous. One, we were a nation of immigrants and all the, you might not know this, but there was noble blood, and that we didn't have noble blood. We were just a bunch of whatevers. I know the Pardews, they gave that to orphan kids. I don't know. I got over here by a ship. When I say I, it wasn't me. I was in 71. I don't know, it was way back. And the point that I'm making is Europeans were floored that regular people could govern themselves as well as we did. And here we are, this amazing nation, and here we have this democracy and a republic that's functioned quite well, handling all kinds of different adversities. And I think it's something to celebrate. I think it's something to make sure we pay attention. And what I think is especially awesome about what's happened just recently is a community comes outraged. They come to this, into this chamber, into this room, and they're concerned about what's happening. And then it's up to us to try to make some kind of adjustment, right? And to try to make sure that we're responding to the community. That's the whole point. And that's where our country's founded on. So we take that very seriously. I will just say this, Mr. Davidson, Shavela band teacher. My favorite teacher in the whole world was Mr. Barnum. He always played in an Oompa band. For those you don't, Tom said, so I'm an Oompa band. He'd play the tuba, and he was just such a marvelous man. So funny. He got me to play the bassoon. So I didn't know what it was at all. So I just picked it because the only thing left. And I absolutely loved it. And so we only had a concert band, went to high school, became an athlete. But my father was a trumpet player. My sister was a flute player. And my dad would go out at halftimes to play the trumpet in his just bright football uniform because it never saw the field. He always talked about that. And he was so stunned to find out, my son ends up playing in the Coliseum, and he sat in the stands just in awe of course, the USC Trojan band. He was into the band, but he's like, I can't believe my son's out there playing football. We were all musicians of our family. So I have a big heart for the band. None of us here would like to see anything happen. And I have a lot to say about it. I will say that I discovered this problem online, just like many of my constituents did. I was very disheartened to discover I was one of the last people to find out about this, and then spent almost my entire weekend looking at my inbox get jam-packed like no other. And I've been on the board now for almost 4 years. This was the biggest response from the community I've seen. So hats off to you. We're definitely interested in the process and what happened, and we're learning about as much as you are. So we will definitely be looking into it. With that concludes my comments. Let's move on to the consent calendar. Thank you.
Do you want me to move it? Or
Consent calendar items are voted on collectively as a group. Upon board member request, items may be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and individual action. Do we need to remove one of those items?
No. Oh,
Okay. Moving on, do I have a
we don't.
motion?
So moved. Yeah, there's-
Motion to approve the consent calendar, items F1 through F6 as presented. And I have a motion.
A
Ms. Young?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. All right. I'm going to make this announcement ahead of time for the audience members. We are going to be moving item G7 to the end of the night only so that we can give a full discussion to that issue. It is a big issue, and we want to not overshadow it with everything else on the agenda. I will bring it up again when we get to G7. Item G1, adoption of resolution number 25-2622, ordering a consolidated governing board member biennial election on November 3rd, 2026. Specifications of the election order and request for consolidation. That calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G2, adoption of resolution number 2526-23, SOS for student achievement. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Approval of personnel report, item G3, calls for a motion.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Student discipline expulsion case number 2025-2026, 153. Ms. Young, would you please read out?
I move that the Board of Education of the Murrieta Valley Unified School District expel the student for the violation of California Education Code 48900C under Education Code Section 48915B for the remainder of the 2025-2026 school year and first semester of the 2026-2027 school year.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G5, student discipline extension of expulsion case number 2024-2025-147. I move that the Board of Education of the Murrieta Valley Unified School District extend the expulsion for the first semester of the 2026-2027 school year. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Ms. Young seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G6, approval to readmit expelled student. That doesn't look right.
No.
No, it's a student who had been expelled, but they have completed all the terms and they would be returning.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Approval to readmit expelled student. Call for a motion to readmit student case number 2023-2024-130. The Executive Director of Student Support Services has verified that all conditions of readmission were met. Do I have a second?
Second, yeah, it was on our agenda, so.
I have a question?
Yeah.
Is there, so you know how the previous two items had the actual case number? Is that not supposed to have the case number to the readmission?
The case number, on the item, that's why that's why Mr. Pardue read it? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
okay, so I didn't know, what is procedurally, is it correct that it doesn't show the number here? Or
Typically,
does
that's
it matter?
correct. I don't think it really matters. We
Okay.
just have to make sure the student has completed all the terms.
Yeah.
They're good to go.
Got you. All right.
I actually think we did that out of order, but I move to readmit the student. Do I have a
Second.
Ms. Young, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G7, we are moving to the end of the agenda. Moving on to item G8, approval of the Local Control and Accountability Plan 2026-27 budget overview for parents and state dashboard local performance indicators. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Approval of Proposition 28 annual report. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to put, I would like to put a note on there and add it to if we can add the document that James sent as an update or an addendum to this with the actual breakdown.
We can,
I understand it's not the report that goes to the state, right? It's not a
Right.
requirement, but
right.
I think it's important for people to know.
Yeah, I procedurally,
Yeah.
I don't know if we can add it to this one, but we
Okay.
can make some sort of a public statement because it wasn't agendized to
Got
include
it.
that data.
Okay.
But we can provide some of the details to the community.
Well, and then moving forward, for any Prop 28 updates, I understand that California doesn't require it,
But
but
we
I think
can.
as a board, I think that should be required for our board to see.
Yes, to have greater detail about
Yeah.
the total expenditures and where it all went. Agreed. Thank you. Noted.
All right, I think we need to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G10, approval of the 2026-27 application for funding consolidated application and reporting system. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposed? Oh, wait, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are you
Any
just looking for
opposed?
opposition, Nick?
Yeah, I'm looking for opposition, please, somewhere. Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G11, approval of fireworks show, the fireworks show at Murrieta Valley High School homecoming football game. It's an advertisement. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G12, receive Williams Uniform Complaints Quarterly Report. The board has received this report. Item G13, approval of certification of authorized agents for the 2026-27 school year. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Yep.
Eleanor gave you the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G14, adoption of the 2026-27 fiscal year budget for the Murrieta Valley Unified School District and certification of review of budget in accordance with the state-adopted criteria and standards. I call on Chief Financial Officer James Whittington.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So tonight we're presenting the 26-27 proposed budget, and so I'll be as brief as I can getting through this document. But please, if there's any questions. Before I get into it, the budget process is an ongoing cycle that we run through here in the district and the entire state of California. All school districts go through this process, but it's a big effort. Our fiscal team leads, but it's the work of the entire district to get our budget prepared. So our Director of Fiscal Service, Samantha Tamayan, runs that as the point person, and so I'd like to acknowledge her and the work that all of our team does to make sure this process happens throughout the year. Our budget philosophy, as we go through kind of the ups and downs in California, I think it's important to talk about how we get to where we are as a district and how we build the things we build. So number one, enrollment is the primary long-term driver of district revenue and service demand. So staffing, programs, and expenditures will be continually aligned throughout the year to actual and projected student enrollment while also considering student needs, program quality, and operational requirements. Two, declining enrollment creates structural budget pressure. The district will plan responsibly and proactively while protecting programs, maintaining services, and preserving the ability to respond strategically when growth returns. Number three, California's school finance system is volatile, and we'll talk about that a lot today. Restrictive and often reliant on one-time or uncertain revenues. So the district will minimize the use of one-time resources to support ongoing obligations, but there are times when we have to use those one-time dollars to support ongoing obligations. And then finally, students, families, and employees depend on the stable schools today and in the future, so the district budget will balance both current needs and the long-term stability of the district for Murrieta students.
James, when you say long-term stability, you've told us we're 3 years out. You do three.
We show the projection for 3 years, but we're really looking out long. Can we sustain over the long term? Will we be able to adjust fast enough over the long term, 5, 10, 15 years out?
Okay.
But really, there's so much changes. We're trying to manage in a really tight window, and then knowing that there are going to be things that allow us to be more responsive in future years. I would say the projection gets fuzzier the further you go out, and so we're always addressing kind of both with an eye for the horizon. The way I like to think about the budget timeline in California, it's kind of a weird system, but it really kicks off for us in terms of how we do our work with our adopted budget, which kicks off with the governor's May revise. So the governor proposes his May revise, and the last several years, the governor's May revise has looked like the final budget deal that happens in June. If you remember, in California, state legislators don't get paid if they don't pass a balanced budget by June 30th. And so the negotiation happens between May revise and June 30th. So we still don't have an approved budget from the state of California yet. And so we've built our budget based on that governor's May revise and some early tells on what's going to happen in the legislature. So right now, we've prepared our adopted budget and our estimated actuals. Negotiations are still ongoing at the state level, but we have some clarity around some of the issues. At some point between now and June 30th, we'll get an enacted state budget from the state. It will take a look at that, and we'll have a window where we can make revisions for 45 days within that enactment if there's any material changes for us as a district. Over the summer, we'll close the books financially. Our fiscal year ends June 30th, so we'll be working to close the books. We'll present that to the board with our actuals in September, and then that will affect our beginning balances for the current year. So right now, we've estimated what our beginning balance will be as of July 1. That won't become a true number until we actually close the books and all the dust settles on where the chips fell for the fiscal year. And then we get into November, December. That's where we get the LAO's forecast of what the economics look like for the state of California. We present first interim in December, where we've updated for all of those factors, both the LAO's updated projections and any changes from the enacted state budget. And then we roll into January, where the governor gives us first swing at a budget proposal for the following year. And in March, we prepare our second interim budget. So that's the kind of the cycle. And then we repeat the cycle back with May revise. So that's kind of where we're at. We're at the first crescendo for 26-27 now. Excuse me. Before getting into 26-27 in terms of the school district budget, I think it's important to have a small caveat about the broader economy. So we have a lot of uncertainty at the national level with the Federal Reserve and that transition between Fed chairs. We know there's tariffs, energy impacts, all kinds of things happening globally that affect us here in California as well. We've seen the first proposed changes for funding education in the federal budget for 27 fiscal year for the federal government, which starts in September, or it starts in October after September 30th, which could have changes for us at some point mid-year as well. Right now, California continues to receive a disproportionate share of national AI and venture capital, which helps support personal income tax in California as that money comes through the state of California. And so we'll talk about that more in a moment. In California, unemployment has remained above the national average despite statewide economic growth. So even though we see some growth and some returning, California kind of still lags the national level in terms of unemployment. We see housing affordability, elevated interest rates that are having uneven impacts throughout the state. So we see parts of the state where we're seeing growth and we're seeing parts of the state where there's decline in that student population. And a lot of that is because of that housing affordability factor affecting folks. In the last couple weeks or couple months, we've heard a lot of talk about the potential for stagflation. That's where we have high inflation, slow or negative growth, and then this elevated unemployment. So that's a potential thing that has started to swirl around and could impact us here in the state of California. All that to say, there's uncertainty. In terms of California's tax system, California relies heavily on what they call the big three. So there's the personal income tax, the corporation tax, and the sales and use tax. So this chart, it's a lot of different colors and bars, but there's 3 blocks for each year. The state is always looking at last year, the current year, and one fiscal year. So they're also doing a 3-year projection, but they're looking back a whole year. They're looking at the current year that's wrapping up, and then they're looking at next year when they're doing their budget proposals. And they're changing their estimates of state revenues as they go through that process. So each year, or each 3 of those bars represents 1 year. So the first 3 bars represent 24, 25 at different points of time. Governor's budget in January, the LAO May revenue outlook, so coming from the governor's office, coming from the LAO's office, and then coming from the governor's office in the May revise. And you can see those numbers are different. So as we're planning for what our proportional share as a school district is going to be based on state's income, those revenues are changing every single time in all those reporting periods. So that's 3 different revenue estimates over 3 different years, all within a 4-month period, 4 or 5-month period that impacts our ability to project in the future. And so there's a lot of questions to why there's so much uncertainty with that. A lot of it has to do with the biggest chunk, which is personal income tax. The biggest adjustment, if we go from where we were at the governor's budget to where we are at May revise from the governor's office, the biggest change, so this is just those 3 years, governor's original budget in January versus the May revise, and you can see the change 1.1 million for 24-25, so they're backcasting all the way to 24-25, a $9 billion change for 25-26, and then they're estimating a smaller $3.4 billion change in 26-27. All of that is driven by capital gains realization. So all stock market capital gains, those taxes sometimes come in late, and so that's why the state is adjusting those. So they're being a little bit conservative, it seems like, in their estimates of those amounts, and then when they truly see those receipts, then they're making those updates. But this causes big impacts for us. If we see personal income tax changing over this period of time by 14 billion, of course it's going to affect the state's ability to pay school districts and what we're getting as our share of Prop 98. So what were those changes is obviously the next question. And so in for May revised Prop 98, just the guarantee that comes to school. So personal income taxes pays for all the things. The big three pay for all the things in California, personal income tax being the largest portion of that. But when we look at the portion that comes to school specifically, that's called the Prop 98 guarantee. And so just in that window from January to May, 24-25 increased by 1.1 billion for schools, 25-26 by 3.7 billion for schools, and 26-27 by 1.6 billion for schools. So overall, 6.4 billion in new funding for schools between the time we estimated at second interim to when we're estimating now at adopted budget. So a very large swing in revenues for us as a school district. Of particular note, I think part of why is this happening, and this may not be the whole reason, but one thing that's significant is LAUSD reached a significant settlement with their labor partners in April 2026. So by May, we've seen the state give some practical relief for school districts. Now, is it in response to LAUSD, or did LAUSD know ahead? I can't say that, but it's I would say a particular note that are not insignificant that happens, and then we see these big changes in education funding for us as a school district.
Big numbers, you know, it's big numbers, right? What does that translate to for Murrieta?
I'm getting there.
Okay. Just want to make sure we get to there.
Yes. So in terms of the state budget, all those billions of dollars, what do they add up to? The state has increased the statutory COLA from 2.87. That's a safe number. We believe that will be approved in state legislatures in statutes and law. The governor is also proposing an additional LCFF investment of 1.44%, essentially a super COLA for the year. We think the risk level on that one is nearly zero as well. It does come with some additional strings for requiring us to fund paid pregnancy disability leave, and we don't have all the specifics of what that looks like because the enacting legislation isn't available yet. But there may be some additional costs that come with that additional LCFF investment. There may be a mandate that comes with it. There's a discretionary block grant in the proposal. There may be some flexibility on how it gets allocated, so we don't know exactly what we'll get. Does it come to us on enrollment? Does it come to us on some weighted factor with UPP, or does it come just strictly on ADA? We don't know yet. The Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, there's no change in the state budget proposal, so we believe we'll continue to get that money that was clawed back several years ago to us. And then there's a large increase in the special education base rate. We believe there's broad support for this increase. So how much that actually ends up happening for us, we will see. So what do those things translate for us is the question. 1.44% additional LCFF investment. Every 1% of LCFF is about $2.6 million. So it's about $4 million in ongoing revenue for us as a district. The discretionary block grant, it depends on how it's allocated to us. We believe it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of $18 million one time. The Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant is a couple million because they took back a huge chunk, $9 million in 3 years ago, and this is a third allocation back of that. So they've given it back over 3 years. And then the special education base rate, they're proposing increasing the rate almost $400 per student, which would be about a $7 million increase for us as a district in ongoing funding for special education, which is welcome relief for us as a school district.
Can you elaborate, James, on the SPED and the encroachment on the general budget?
I have a slide.
Coming?
Yeah, I have that coming. So let's talk about it there.
This is a lot of numbers, James. I'm hanging in there with you.
Just keep tabulating.
I'm there.
So on the revenue side, we have implemented in this projection a COLA of 2.87 for 26-27, a 3.3% COLA for 27-28, and a 3.09 COLA for 28-29. In 26-27, we've also incorporated that 1.44% additional LCFF investment. The AB 602 enhancement, that's the SPED additional funding, is about $6.7 million increase from January budget. We've incorporated that into our projections. The one-time discretionary grant I already said is about 18 million, 18.7 is our estimate we use for budget. We've incorporated that into these projections. On the expenditure side, we've incorporated the cost of current board-approved salary agreements, but nothing going forward. So there's always the need to settle with our labor partners in future years, and that could have cost increases for us, but there's no allocation there, so that will be a future cost when that happens. We've updated staffing to reflect our projected enrollment needs and our program needs. The one unknown is, can this one-time discretionary, this 18.7 million, be used to offset some of the pressure we have on the general fund with some ongoing cost increases? If it can, that alleviates some of our pressure on our unrestricted general fund. But we don't know until we get the enacting legislation, so that's to be determined. Oh. Maybe. When it comes to enrollment in ADA, this is a chart I've shown before. The blue line is our enrollment, and so when it gets to that dotted portion, that's where we've started projecting out in the out years. That green line in the middle with the blue squares is our funded ADA, and then the gray line at the bottom is our P2 ADA. So we get funded either on current year P2 ADA, prior year P2 ADA, or the average of the prior 3-year ADA. So that's why there's a difference between funded ADA and our P2 ADA. And so you can see we're projecting declines as we look at our grade levels that are matriculating through the system. We believe there will be some continued declines in enrollment in our district. And so we projected conservatively on the revenue side that those students will leave us at some point, and that's reflected in our projections. Welcome increase to our SPED requirement to provide those services. But there's still a pretty big gap between the amount of we spend on special education services and the amount which we receive in state and federal funding for those services. So the chart on the left shows our SPED funding, including all sources. And so the blue line is all the funding we get for SPED, and the orange portion is the annual contribution. So the amount we have to contribute from the unrestricted portion of the general fund to cover all the SPED costs we have. And so you can see that orange portion, the total cost is the sum of both bars. We've seen total costs have risen as well as that proportion of the annual contribution. So this increase in our AB 602 funding will start eliminating some of that contribution, but it will not close the gap fully. There will still be a gap between the amount we spend on special education and the amount we actually receive funding for from the state and federal government.
I think this is where I wanted you to get to is, can you give, I can't remember if you were in on that meeting that this was explained, is no, it was just Doc, the encroachment. But I want you to give us the example of what it costs in the classroom. So we have a SPED class, a foundations class with those 8 students and all of the support that comes around them. What does that look like? And what is the cost? So the state gives us X amount of dollars. It costs us this amount to get those students there and provide the services, which we're required to and which we want to do. But what is that encroachment into our general?
So the state provides about $13,500 in just LCFF funding. We tend to be an LCFF loser when you look at the terms of the formula of how much we get in state funding, just on our attendance-based enrollment funding. We do get other buckets of funding to provide other things, but that's the bulk of the funding we get from the state. When we look at the costs associated, so if we take all district costs for special education students and all district costs for the general education population, we spend about $33,000 per special education count, and we spend just under $12,000 for the general education population, looking at the difference between those two. And so the gap between that LCFF funding doesn't obviously cover that $33,000, and so that's where these other federal and state sources come in to support special education, but they still don't close the gap quite enough to fully close that contribution from the unrestricted side of the general fund.
So even with this new money coming in is what you're telling us?
Yeah, that encroachment is close to $40 million. We'll get 6.7 million additional, which closes the gap. It's welcome relief to a problem that is not just a Murrieta problem, but a statewide problem for funding special education. And I think that's why there's a lot of broad support at the state level, but the state still needs to do more, in our opinion, to help close that gap.
And you had stated that our district we suffer from this. We're the LCAP losers. We do not get all the money. So we have to close that gap with funds from elsewhere.
Even further, yeah. So when the state talks about how much the average student gets in LCFF funding, their number is closer to 18,000, 17,000 and some change. If they start adding in other things, it gets up to 22,000. But that's an average. We're below average in terms of the per student funding we get in LCFF. So we're on the lower end of that, and that's part of the
Why are we on the lower end?
The state allocates funds based on a factor of your enrollment, and then they give us supplemental funding for all of our students that are identified as unduplicated pupils. That means they're English learners, foster youth, or eligible for free and reduced price meals. And so then there's an enhancement on that funding formula based on your proportion. So because we fall below 55%, we don't qualify for concentration grant funding. If you look at districts around us, districts like Hemet Unified serves, I think, 2,000 less kids and gets $50 million more in annual funding from the state through that formula because their proportion, we're just below 55%, they're in the 90s. And so that's the difference of that formula for.
Aren't we like 53%?
54.7, I think, was the.
Oh,
4 points.
yeah, we're working on that through CSBA too, because it should be.
Yeah, there are students
yeah.
with needs and that are not dependent on where they live. And so
Yeah.
those needs exist regardless of
Right.
their address.
Yeah, so that's
Absolutely.
one of the things we're working on.
And I know someone in the room is going to be able to answer this question for me as well. Isn't it not true that we're a magnet for special ed students? Don't we get a lot of transfers coming from these districts that are fully funded and they come to our school district for services? Is this a true statement or am I making things up?
So it'd be hard to quantify that with some like data like on the cuff, right? But generally speaking, we know that families move here because we're an exceptional district, high achieving. And so they know kind of because a student with needs, they know that kind of because they're associated with the school, they're going to get a greater experience. There are many families that try and transfer their students in, and they live somewhere else. They go through a transfer process for that. But there are people who, I know families individually, personally, who said, I am buying a house like in this neighborhood for that school because my kid has this disability.
Well, yeah, I think just the district generally, it kind of shows that even though we have less funding, we're doing a fantastic job educating children. But that doesn't mean we're perfect. It just means we're doing a pretty good job and there's enough people in the area who recognize that and want to come to our schools.
Agreed.
Moving on. Maybe. There we go. So when we look at our general fund, this chart shows our general fund summarized for each reporting period from the 25-26 year. So we have adopted budget, and then on the final column we have our 26-27 adopted budget. And then for comparison purposes, we have our update we did at first interim, second interim, estimated actual. So you can see the change over time. As we get more information, of course, the budget's always a story we're writing as the year goes on, and so we continue to write that story. We made some significant changes in how we funded things. We had some reductions and some cost-saving measures we implemented to end where we are projecting to end for the 25-26 year. When we look at 26-27, we're projecting total revenues of just over $382 million. We're projecting total expenditures at this point of $356 million. Part of that large gap, to note, is in that $18.7 million in one-time funding. So although it looks like there's this big operating surplus, a part of it is one-time. So we'll recognize all those revenues one time this year, and then we'll spend them over multiple years. So that's why there's that large increase in projected change in ending fund balance. When we look at the multi-year projection, so based on all the factors we've talked about, we've updated our revenue projections. This chart shows unrestricted broken out from restricted and then combined at the bottom. So that bottom left quadrant of the numbers will tie overall to the page before. But then each column here represents the fiscal years in the multi-year projection. So 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29. The one I always focus on is the unrestricted increase or decrease in ending fund balance. Based on the AB 602 increases, the LCFF increases, and the Super COLA, we are projecting that we'll be in a surplus situation in the next 3 years. Part of that is the shift we've made to restricted resources during our second interim presentation, where we made some cost shifts to do some cost-saving maneuvers. We've maintained most of those in this budget, which allows us to have that balanced budget now going forward, even though we didn't make quite the level of cost-saving measures we had anticipated before. On the restricted side, you can see we are quote unquote deficit spending. I like to call it strategic spending because when it comes to restricted revenues, we have to spend them. Usually they're time bound or for a specific purpose. And so we're spending those as time goes on. All of that leads to our ending fund balances in the multi-year projection. So we have our required 3% reserve is the first line. Our balance of restricted funds, you can see that's declining over time. We have our amounts that are assigned for specific purposes, and then we have an unassigned/committed balance. Later tonight, you guys will have a resolution in front of you to commit funds for a specific purpose. It's a state requirement that we commit funds in excess of a certain threshold for specific purposes. So part of that is in this balance here on this unassigned committed line. And then you can see our total project ending fund balance for each year, 26-27 will be 157.6 million, and then increasing a little bit in those 2 out years based on the projections today. Of course, we know costs will change, revenues will change, but this is our projection we're putting forward for proposed budget at this reporting period. So with that, the district projects for the 26-27 budget the 26-27 budget reflects the district priorities and includes the necessary expenditure to support the goals and actions included in the district's local control and accountability plan. So we've incorporated all the necessary expenditures from the approved LCAP earlier this evening into our budget, and we have a balanced budget going out into the future years. Any other questions this evening?
Great job.
Thank you.
Yep. Nice work. I think my biggest concern, and I need to state it, we're always at that balance point, and there's things that we need done, and there's a lot of concern. I think there's a growing public concern about us keeping such a large sum in reserve. So.
Yeah. I think the ending fund balance always comes into question. I think it's important to keep it in, and I think for all of us, the numbers we have as a district are very large, right? But we need to keep that in context of the scale of what we operate on. So as a reminder, our monthly payroll is about $25 million per month. And so when we look at our reserves, $50 million gets us 2 months of payroll. And we know the state has delayed much more than 2 months of funding for us in recent years past. And so I agree. It's a balancing act of how do you maintain the ongoing with the balance, but just looking at the pure numbers alone, it needs to be in context. So.
I think I wish we could put that context somewhere on the website, because I've had that same comment that there's so much in your reserves. Why aren't you guys doing X, Y, Z?
And it's a true statement, but
it is a true
requires
statement.
Context.
Right. I mean, I guess we could be like LAUSD, and they did all this stuff with 1 year, and now downfall is 3,200 jobs are at risk this year. But there's got to be a way, James, that we can express to our community or share that somehow, that this is not just $50 million we have sitting in the bank just for fun. I mean, it really isn't. I think you've done a great job, like really doing the out projections, and all that great, because you have that brain. And I tell people all the time, just so everybody knows, I pass out James's cards to everybody. If you have questions about the budget, anything like that, he's the guy to talk to break it down. But I think there's got to be a way somewhere, somehow, we can express to not just our district, our school district families, but our community, that this is not, you really do take a vested interest. You have kids in our district. So it would behoove you to make sure we're financially stable, but that's your job, obviously, right? But there's got to be a way, and I don't know what that is. Maybe you can come up with some creative idea to express this to our community, that this is not just a rainy day fund that we're going to try, keep in just to have in our pocket. It's, you are really planning for the out years, and based on our declining enrollment, this is what we're looking at. And it has to be presented that way. Otherwise, our community just thinks we're just kind of just goofing off with this money.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is we operate in a very restrictive environment. The state makes us operate in this very restrictive environment where we get funds for a specific purpose. We don't get funds that are available to do whatever we want with. Not every dollar we get is the same color, I guess. So we do get funds that need to be spent towards capital projects. So we will invest in capital projects while we're making reductions in other places. And I think that's hard for the community member to understand, is that we're not like Coca-Cola where we can spend every single dollar however we want. We do have restricted dollars that come to us that need to be spent in certain ways, which makes us act in sometimes counterintuitive ways to the community. So I agree. It's a highly complex
and I'm not saying our community is not like smart enough to figure that out, but I think we have got to make the pathway to information specifically regarding these finances clear. Either a link on our website that says, here's the breakdown. I think we discussed this before. I brought this to you at some point, where there's got to be a way at the push of a button on our website. And I know we're working on our website situation. I'm fully aware of that. But there's got to be a way, there's got a transparency, financial transparency page that says, here's exactly where these guns. Now, as a community member or as a board member, now I know where to go within our site to go find it. but regular community member who doesn't, this isn't their wheelhouse, I would like to be able to see something that says, here is where this money's going, one tab on our website that links to all of your other stuff somehow.
Yeah, in the
So-
meantime, we do prepare a large budget book, which I know everyone reads every night to go to bed, which
Yeah.
provides a lot of the detail, but I agree that we could do.
Is that budget book digitally available?
It was on the board agenda, attached to the
I mean,
items.
for our community. So
Yeah,
where
yeah, so
can our
it's-
community member find it right now?
We have a financial reports tab, and so every reporting period, we produce this voluminous document
book.
that talks about how we get to where we get to, what
Sure.
projections we're using, what estimates we're using. I agree. I wish there was a one-stop shop where you could click
Right.
in and drill in. But in the meantime, there is this document that has a lot of those details in it. But we could do more to be more accessible. I hear the
All right,
concern.
thank you.
So overregulation by the state of California, creating a huge manual that no one reads. I'm sorry, had to throw that out there. Free markets rock. All right. Thank you,
you.
James. All right. I think we're moving on to item G15.
I think there's adoption of the budget.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We didn't move at all. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G15, adoption of resolution number 2526-24, authorizing the Education Protection Account, EPA requirements. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G16, adoption of resolution number 25-2625 to commit funds in the general fund balance. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second, oh, go ahead.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G17, adoption of resolution number 25-2626, authorizing and providing for the levying of special taxes within various community facility districts. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
I'm going to second, and I want to state this. This was an item, the special taxes, just in case you know, need to know, comes from developers, and that was something we discussed, that Melrose from the new developments. We are basically accepting that money from the developers as they develop the apartments, I'm assuming that's mostly?
Yeah, and that's when those are established, because when a developer comes in, like actually item 18, that's a new development coming in. Part of those dollars go to all the different services in the community, the district being one, to provide, classrooms and spaces and so forth and it's over the life of the property. We're very careful about those dollars and how they're spent, like they're facility dollars. Like we did an addition of classrooms, at least gym aisles, without any burden to the general fund or a bond money, because we had those types of dollars to pay for that. So
Wonderful. All right, I think we got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G18, approval and adoption of joint community facilities agreement with City of Murrieta and Century Communities of California LLC. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G19, adoption of resolution number 25/26-27, authorizing the repair and replacement of the electrical transformer at Vista Murrieta High School. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G20, approval of the 2026-27 short list of qualified vendors for after-school enrichment classes under the district's Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, ELOP. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Review of Associated Student Body Financial Reports for the quarter ended March 31st, item G21. For the quarter ended March 31st, 2026. The board has received this report. Item G22, approval of the appointment of a member to the Citizens Oversight Committee for the Measure BB General Obligation Bond. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G23, approval of a tentative facility use agreement between Murrieta Valley Unified School District and Broken City Percussion. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second? You got a second? All right. Any discussion? Here, all right. Sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G24, approval to renew contract with Papa John's and Domino's Pizza for providing fresh pizza for the 2026-27 school year. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G25, approval of award contract to Pickup Sticks to provide fresh chicken and rice entrees for the 2026-27 school year. Calls for a motion.
Sorry. It's only fair. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item 26, approval to renew contract with individual food service for paper goods and supplies to nutrition services for the 2026-27 school year. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G27, approval to renew contract with Gold Star Foods to provide food items for the 2026-27 school year. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Item G28, approval to award contract with Cisco Foods for specialty foods for the 2026-27 school year. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. And now we're going to move to item G7. This is the approval of amendment to employment contract for District Superintendent Dr. Ward Andrus, effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2030. Call on Assistant Superintendent Rich Ridout to provide an oral summary.
I'm sorry.
Is it Ridout?
No, it's right
All right.
out.
I say Ridout all the time.
You did.
For 4 years.
I've never corrected you, sir.
Appreciate that.
It's okay.
This is good timing right now.
Yeah.
We need the
I'm
levity.
glad we can do it out here.
I appreciate
Yes.
it.
All right.
All right. That calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second. Roll, wait, no, this
I
is
need to
for
read the
after,
statement.
right? You're going to give the oral
Yes, sir.
thing first. There you go, sorry.
Tonight, the board is considering an amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement effective July 1, 2026. Prior to taking final action, Government Code Section 54953 requires an oral summary of the recommendation for approval on the salaries, salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of a local agency executive during open session of a regular meeting in which the final action is to be taken. Accordingly, I'm providing an oral summary of the recommendations being considered by the board today. As reflected on the amendment, the superintendent's term of contract is extended through June 30th, 2030. The amendment also includes the reduction to the percentage increase in his salary from 2.5% to 2% annually upon satisfactory annual evaluation. The amendment also includes an additional amount of $5,000 stipend for each year the agreement upon board and superintendent goals are met, exceeded, or have made satisfactory progress on, determined at the time of the yearly evaluation. This is to be paid in the form of a tax-sheltered annuity, beginning with the current board and superintendent goals concluding in June of 2026. Thank you.
All right, I know this is going to have a conversation, but we do need to have a motion and a second before we can start conversation. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second, sorry.
Okay, I would like to start the conversation. This was something that I thought would be really easy, and I'd be explaining Dr. Andrus's role on the board and what he does for our district. He's definitively our CEO. I think Ms. Briggs says that all the time. CEO of a large, I think the largest employer in Murrieta. I can tell you and attest to the long hours that Dr. Andrus puts in on behalf of our district. But I will say that there's been a number of concerns that I have. Starting with, I've been here for 4 years, so Dr. Andrus has been the superintendent for the entire time that I've served on the board. And he was given last year a 1-year contract, in part because there were some significant issues that are really reminiscent of what just happened to us with regards to the band. The music program is something that's really near and dear to the community. And I think communicating with staff is such an important element as superintendent. And there's been time and again that we've had teachers come up and discuss how they were not informed or how they don't seem to understand what the process was. That's very concerning for us as a board, because currently the community right now, as it's been presented, is that we are trying to cut music programs, which has nothing to do with reality. As a board, as a board president, I was apprised, as I mentioned earlier, on Thursday, and my inbox is filling up. Prior to that, the year before, we had, the only times we filled this room, one music program, another one was a Thompson Middle School PE program, in which, as a board, we had raved about the success, and that, of course, is in my district. And then within months, it was being dismantled for a variety of reasons we find out. But again, I was completely mortified to see what was happening and how that transpired. I was extremely unhappy with that. While sitting in a minority on this board, there was an attempt to buy property at Ivy and Hayes, which people have discussed before. That was a complete disaster. We, as board members, trust our staff. We're not experts in acquiring property. We're not experts in a lot of these different elements. We don't get to run the district. We have to rely on Dr. Andrus to run the district. So when we have constituents come in and they're upset, we take the blame because everybody puts it back to us because we're the elected officials. That's what our job is. We have one employee, that's Dr. Andrus. Everything else and how things are communicated to staff, that is on Dr. Andrus and the district office. So when it comes to a night like this becomes very, very, very important. Additionally, I'm going to add, I have curriculum issues, transitional math, accelerated science classes, and even just the layout of the math data and the idea of going to traditional math. As a board member, I'm told that we've talked to the teachers, and then within a month, we find out the teachers have no idea. In fact, I have teachers coming time and again. How come you didn't communicate? How come we don't run that? And the teachers are the ones who should be communicated. They should know clearly what the superintendent's goals are and what he's trying to accomplish when it comes to curriculum. Not communicating that to staff is a huge problem. And for the board, it's not just making us look bad. There are times when I'm trying to figure out why this is a repeated problem. And I think the repetitive problem that I'm seeing has got me very concerned about tonight's vote. So with that, I'm going to let other board members chime in.
I'll chime in. I had I was fully prepared, and I know that Rich was with us in our meeting just last week. We were just there last week. I was fully prepared to, Nick has said it, and I say it everywhere I go. We are the largest employer in Murrieta. For employees, I think it's over 3,000 or it's some crazy number, and he is the CEO of this organization. And someone asked me just today, so I said, why don't you just Google, find out what an average CEO makes with that many employees. So in terms of the salary, that part to me is not it's not the current issue that I have. What is the issue though is that I had a separate meeting with Dr. Andrus yesterday, and I'm not going to go into the detail of it, but my concern, I would have to just echo, I didn't realize what Nick was bringing to the table today. But I just want to just put this out there that when I said earlier that we are the oversight to this community, we represent the community. And when our community comes out or our community sends us emails or things like that, it's a voice that's speaking. And that really has, I've been in retrospect, the things that have happened in the last 2 years since I've sat on this board, I have tried to kind of set aside in terms of, hey, I'm on a learning curve. I need all of this information. We have this going on. And I think and I'll tell this to the public, Dr. Andres, because this is just the truth. As a board member who is all in, and I am an all-in board member, I will do whatever it takes to do this job well because I believe in our community. And I want someone who works for me to be not just with me, which I told Dr. Andres, that was my only ask in that room, was I just need to know if we're going to pursue this contract negotiation that you are with us as a board. And these last 4 days, not only did I find out that I believe that he may be with us, but I understand that, not oftentimes I've heard through the community that he is not necessarily for me as a board member. And I explained this also to the staff. I want you to know that I understand incoming boards, they sometimes often are just tolerated because we are not the boots on the ground people. But what we are is we are the oversight. We are called to ask these questions. We are called to question the procedures and processes to see if they are advantageous to our group and our community and our students. At the end of the day, is what we're doing serving our students to the best of our ability, right? And so I just have to say, I'm putting this out there because right now I am not for moving forward with these contract negotiations. And it's not that I don't personally like Dr. Andres, because I tout his praises everywhere I go. Every single event that I've been to, every teacher I've talked to has been, hey, we have an amazing superintendent and he can speak to people in the public space without a script. He can do speeches on the fly. And I recognize these last few weeks that is not reciprocated in the community, just in talking to people and for me as a board member. So I cannot move forward fully in this, even in these negotiations right here, President Pardue, without some very big hesitation. So I don't even know what that looks like right now, but I'm just putting it out there for the what it's worth column that I don't feel comfortable extending this, where I have to tell you, I was all in. I'm all in. I was all in. But after hearing the information and in light of all the current events that have happened, it has made me really question the ability for me as a board member to be able to provide oversight to a superintendent who is not necessarily with me and for me in my pursuit of providing excellence to our community.
I think I'd like to add to that for the curriculum issues, and I heard that brought up tonight, which really got my attention. There was accelerated classes that when I first got on, I really wanted to see because I knew we were not meeting all the students' needs. And to know that finding out through the grapevine that these programs, this coursework is not being implemented with fidelity across the district. In some places it's implemented, in other places it's not. And that's really, really disappointing. And I think most of this, it draws, for me, doubts about all the other issues. Am I being given all the information? Is this being communicated with fidelity to the staff and to the school sites? And is it being carried out across the school sites? And it draws a lot of questions for me personally, and I'm very concerned about that. Additionally, the math data element of that. We asked for outside agency or outside person to share that information, apparently not shared. And instead of rectifying that communication piece, we get over and again all this information about how the teachers have no idea where's the data, as if we're holding back data. We are elected to oversight. We do not run the district. We do not dictate to Dr. Andrus. We do not dictate to the staff. We provide oversight. We're a board, we're elected when our constituents tell us their concerns or what direction they'd like to see the board, and we try to implement it. We rely on Dr. Andrus and his staff to actually implement those policies and implement them with fidelity. I do not have confidence that that's happening. Does anyone else have any other comments? Or would you, go ahead.
Comment. Yeah, I'm pretty stunned by this whole conversation. Yes, I do understand people's frustrations over the music. Like I've been getting all the emails and responding to. But the rest of this, I did not know this was going to happen. I haven't heard comments about this before. I'm just shocked. And I don't really know what to say, but I feel like it's somewhat of a hijacking.
All right, Ms. Schmidt, do you have any comments or? Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Ms. Young. Oh, sorry, let's clarify. We need a motion. We did the motion, we had a second, and a yes vote is to support the contract, to approve the contract. A no vote would be against the contract.
Can I have a question, President Pardue? Can we, in terms of I know the contract laid out for 3 years, can I propose an amendment at this point?
First, you have to take action on, or whoever made the motion would need to, or be willing to consider that and then amend the motion, or we have to vote on it and present a revision.
Because if we're still discussing, we're not going for roll right now, right?
Correct, you're still in discussion.
So what potentially I would like to see, if this is possible, is potentially a 1-year extension. And after that, because I think I think we had a good heart-to-heart, but I don't know where that's going to go, and I want to be sure that I'm giving the full ability. Might be my mercy motivated, but I want to make sure I'm giving full ability to be able to rectify the problems that I have seen them and that I have. And Nancy, this is not, I apologize, Ms. Young, this is not anything new. It has been brought before, and maybe not in a meeting that you have been in, but definitely in a separate conversation with the superintendent. So it's not a surprise in my mind. It's just something that actually, because of the way it's coming out right now, it sounds like it. It might sound like it.
Totally.
Sure.
Totally.
However, these are not things this is not an overnight decision. This was not even within a week decision. This has been kind of the accumulation of what's been happening, and it just solidified with the most current event. And so I'm going to propose, and if I can, whoever made the motion, if we can amend to a 1 year and then revisit after 1 year. That is my proposal.
Made the motion.
I think you did.
Okay. Yeah, I will allow the amendment because I would like to allow time for things just to calm down. So I will allow the amendment.
Okay, so now we are voting on amendment to this proposal to make it a 1-year contract.
So 1-year extension
So
through
1-year
28.
extension.
Okay.
And that would require a second, or is she the second because that was amended? She's allowing Eleanor?
We need a new second.
Second.
Okay. Rich, if we, I apologize, I'm going to ask this question right here. If we do this and it's to the 26-27 or through 26-27 is what I'm requesting.
I already have a contract through 26-27.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant, sorry, 27 through
It would be
28.
for 27, 28 would be the extension
So
year.
do all of the things within this contract then still apply?
Yes, they would. There
I
would
just
be
need
a
to clarify
uniqueness
that.
because on the back end, it does have a salary schedule that goes further than that, but that had not been approved, so it would have to have a contract extension for those outgoing steps in 28, 29, and 29, 30 to then become applicable. You'd have to approve another extension of the contract to get to those years, but it does not change the fact that those could be in place. So you could do this, yeah.
All right, well, one of the things I'm going to just add to this, because I know I've talked to Dr. Andrus before. I've coached basketball for a long time. I've been in the military. I think the buck stops at a certain point. As a CEO, that's kind of where everything lands. That's my position, because we ultimately end up paying the price whenever there's mistakes. As board members, we get it all put right here. No one's going to care that we just found out about the music program. Nobody cares whether or not you know, the math rollout. Was there a conversation with the staff or not? They think we know. They think we're running all that. We're not. And the communication gap is significant. And I'd like to see that improve dramatically. And so that is my primary concern. I don't feel like there's enough communication with staff, community feedback. I feel like it's being ignored. And I know how I'm going to vote on this. With that being said, I think it's a roll call vote. I'm going to start with Ms. Young.
Yes.
I'm a no. Sorry, I'm supposed to keep reading. Ms. Schmidt
No.
and Ms. Briggs.
Yes.
All right. Motion fails 2-2. And with that, we are at the end of the meeting. I'm going to talk to board members about finding, we need a special meeting sometime next week. And what days that that we're available. And so I would propose, I would like to make, can I make a motion or can I just find out where we're at to have this discussion about moving forward? Tuesday? Special meeting on Tuesday?
To see if
Look.
available. Yeah.
The 22nd? No, 23rd.
23rd. I can do the 23rd.
Yeah, that's the 23rd is a Tuesday.
I could do Tuesday.
All right.
Do the morning.
Ouch. I am going to be at a conference, so
Oh.
I won't be back until later.
What time?
I would need a 5 o'clock, like what we've been doing.
Okay.
Okay. I call for a motion to adjourn the Board of Education meeting at 7:50 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We're adjourned.